Hey Familia, Igni here, and welcome back to a Shadowverse Balance update. I'm actually recording this video from my laptop because my desktop is currently rendering uh, over 2 hour custom card weekly video. So look forward to that this weekend. But really big news just occurred today. Emergency nerf announcement: changes to cards in the July 10 release. Greetings, Shadowverse fans. Although these card changes weren't previously announced, due to the schedule of upcoming events and tournaments, we've decided to proceed with card changes on July 10th Pacific time. We will be changing 3 cards in this release. This is an explanation of what we're changing and why. What's changing? So this is the meat of it here. Heartsick Demons' cost, attack, and defense will be increased. Seductress Vampire's effect will be changed. Elana Purist Prayer's cost, attack, and defense will be increased. So let's talk about the nerfs. First of all, I think these were extremely necessary. Um, the rotation meta is, I think, far from healthy in its current state, so I'm really glad that they're going forward with swift nerfs this time and to pretty important cards. There are some cards here that a lot of players maybe are a bit upset that weren't nerfed, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But let's talk about the changes that are going through first. Heartsick Demon is going from a 2 play point 2/2 to a 6 play point 6/6 follower, which is an amazing change, and it's in the fact that it's absolutely dumpster now. It's so bad. So put that guy in the trash. That's a super nerf right there. Alana Purist Prayer going from 2/2/2 to 4/3/4, which is also huge, and we'll touch on that a little bit more in depth after we read through the last one here, which is also big. Seductress Vampire 8/4/4, same stat line and cost and everything, but obviously the important part here is the instant vengeance effect that's getting changed. Instead of you not taking any damage going into instant vengeance, now during your turn, when this card is added to your hand from your deck, if vengeance is not active for you, reveal it and then banish it. Change your leader's maximum defense to 10, so it's an instant Jerva effect without the upside of whatever Azazel gives you when you draw it, which makes it a lot more susceptible to stuff like aggro, burn strategies, etc., which it already kind of was, but now even more so, very much more so. And this card is, I think, significantly worse now. Maybe not even run in favor of just Azazel or Narmaya even. In terms of the other ones, again, like we talked about, this guy got just absolutely, yeeted into orbit. Nobody's gonna play this anymore. And Alana is still okay, but the effect is so much more manageable now on the evolve turn in that you can't stack it with the 1 play point rabbit or the repair modes on the turn you evolve the Alana itself. So much more manageable. If you want to get an early Alana off, that is. So really dig these changes a lot. Let's take a look at some of the reasoning here. Okay, obviously for a limited time after the update, Heartsick Demon, Seductress Vampire, and Alana Purist Prayer will produce more vials when liquefied, of course. So here's the stats. So the current game environment, according to the data we gathered in early July from high-ranking matches in the rotation format, Vengeance Bloodcraft, an aggressive deck archetype that utilizes Seductress Vampire and cards that give the player an advantage when Vengeance is activated, currently possesses the highest win and usage rates at 58% and 40.3% respectively. A win rate of 58% is absolutely ridiculous, and I think it's unprecedented. From what I remember, Shadow Log was reporting it at around like 56-ish, which is bad, right? But this is like way worse than we thought it was. Plus, the fact that it's better, I believe, if I remember correctly, than neutral Bloodcraft was during Wonderland Dreams time. Says a lot. Says a lot. And a 40.3% usage rate is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Alana Havencraft, a deck that utilizes a combination of Alana Purist Prayer with cards that restore defense, has the second highest win and usage rates, 51.5% and 12.7% respectively. That's actually a lot better than this. Like, it's good, but it's a lot better than this. Like, in terms of health, not obviously Vengeance Bloodcraft is clearly better in terms of power, but these stats are a lot more digestible. No other deck archetypes hold an overwhelming win or usage rate, because the meta is basically 2 decks. We found players going first in the rotation format have a win rate of 49.2% compared with 52.2% in early June across all deck types, which is actually pretty interesting. Probably because some pretty powerful evolves with the top 2 decks here. Looking at our July high-ranking match data for Unlimited, same decks. Vengeance Bloodcraft has the second highest win rate of all deck types at 57.9%, the highest usage rate at 22. Ilana Havencraft has the highest win rate at 58%, and the third highest usage rate at 19.2. The deck archetype with the second highest usage rate has a win rate that falls within acceptable parameters, and no other deck archetypes hold an overwhelming win or usage rate. So they're not giving the actual stats here. I'd have to guess that it's probably Roach. Players going first in the Unlimited format have a win rate of 50.5% compared with 53.2% in early June across all deck archetypes. But what's interesting to me here is that obviously these decks are overtuned and they're crazy, right? But the first second delta in win rate is actually some of the best it's ever been, which is quite interesting. Based on our analysis of the data across both formats, we decided it was necessary to make adjustments to cards central to Vengeance Bloodcraft and Ilana Havencraft deck archetypes. We've chosen cards by looking at how each card contributes to the win rate of its archetype and how many copies of that card are in a deck. So, again, details. We've been through this. Right. Temporary vibe bonus, yep, and all the rest of it. Any future card changes will be announced in advance, and then changes will generally be made the next day. Next card adjustments are scheduled for the end of the month. If there are no changes made, we'll still make an announcement. If emergency changes are deemed necessary, we may make changes, specify restrictions, or specify banned cards before the schedule update. That's all for this round. See you next update. Okay. So first things first, I want to say thank God that these changes are happening. I'm serious, man. The meta in rotation was super bad, not to mince words. And same thing in Unlimited, the fact that the same archetypes are just so strong in the same way. Obviously to a higher degree because it's Unlimited, right? So you have more stuff like Airjammer and the actual Ilana as well, alongside Ilana Purist Prayer, the follower, right? So really love this because this card is insane. I think a lot of people kind of underestimate this card. I saw some sentiment on Twitter going like, why are you nerfing Heartsick Demon? Well, maybe you nerf Heartsick Demon because it's a 2/2/2 that capitalizes on the high roll that you get off of an early Seductress Vampire and just out of control on the board like immediately. Not to throw shade at anybody with that sentiment. I'm just kind of explaining it there. And Ilana Purist Prayer here, again, like we said, going up 2 play points means that you can't combo it with repair modes or the rabbit on the turn you evolve it, unless you're evolving it on turn 5, and even then it's way less dangerous because you can't pair it with the precant plus repair mode or what have you, any number of options. So really like that change as well. And I still think that makes that deck playable, but a lot less powerful than it has been. And we'll talk about the other cards that weren't nerfed in a second here. And of course, the Seductress Vampire change I'm really happy about as well, because I think this was the most harmful to class identity, and just in terms of the design of the class and the game as a whole, the health of the game, rather. I'm so glad that it has a drawback now, which is what Vengeance Bloodcraft should be. All right, so in terms of the cards that weren't nerfed, obviously the big 2 targets that people were talking about that didn't get the hammer in the end are Kel and Urias, which is interesting. A lot of people dislike Urias, and you know what? It's pretty good. Like we all know this. I think talking with other pros, they all kind of agree that card is overtuned, and if you take away any effect from it, any one of its many effects, it would still be a really good card, and what have you. And the stat line is insane, obviously. But I do think that there is something to be said about being careful in your nerfs, because a lot of the time when nerfs come out, and I'm not referring to anybody specifically here, but I see a sentiment of just nerf it into the ground, throw it away. And you know what? I get it when the deck is so oppressive, but a lot of the time just nerfing 1 or 2 key cards will allow the other decks in the meta to rise up and change the landscape of what's actually good in more significant ways than is initially apparent. So if it's necessary to nerf Urias in the future, hopefully they can carry through with that with an emergency nerf or what have you. But I'm okay on principle with the approach of doing a couple nerfs at a time as necessary, seeing how the players react, because I think a lot of the time it's better to try and have the players solve the problem, unless your deck has 58% win rate. Then maybe there's a problem here. But you know what I mean, right? Like the meta is a puzzle that we should solve. Anyway, and in terms of Cal, of course. So Cal now competes with Alana on Evolve usage, which I think is pretty big. And Cal is still a crazy card, but same way. Now that Alana is nerfed, maybe other decks can rise up and be a little bit more effective. I think that's all I really wanted to say here, other than the fact that, yeah, I'm generally happy with the nerfs. I do think a couple of those cards that we just covered could have been nerfed as well. But as a whole, not against the idea of nerfing things incrementally. I wanted to ask what you guys thought of the nerfs. Great nerfs, bad nerfs. I think we can all agree that it's good that it's happening because if it's not happening, that would be super bad. So I think we can all agree that the fact that nerfs are happening, and very swiftly, honestly, too, between the announcement of this and the delivery of the patch is kind of crazy. Essentially just like a day or a day and a half or something like that. So that's awesome. But, do you like the nerfs at all? Do you think they're bad? Do you have other cards that you wish were nerfed instead? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, Cal and Urias, but is there anything else that you think are problems in the meta? I did want to cover one more thing, actually, regarding Rhinoceros. Like it says here that it has an acceptable parameter in terms of win rate, so it may just be that it's not as good as people are making it out to be. I wouldn't really know as much since I don't play Unlimited as much as I should, and I really should do play it more. But maybe that's something as well that you think should have been taken into account. Because I do think there is something to be said about games being balanced not solely on data. While that's definitely a factor that you should, obviously take into consideration, keep in mind that the players playing your games aren't robots, they're people. So oftentimes you can't just look at pure numbers in terms of how the game feels to your player base. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you did. Don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content in the very near future. And of course, thank you to my wonderful patrons, patreon.com/Ignidius, if you'd like to support the channel as well. I'd highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.